Over 1,700 new millionaires are created every single day in the US alone, and more than double that across the globe. They're people from all walks of life, most of them people just like you and I. So the big question is this: how are so many people who didn't inherit money or have any special advantages overcoming the odds and becoming millionaires? That's the question, and this show will give you the answers. My name is Jeff Lerner, and welcome to Millionaire Secrets. Welcome to another episode of Millionaire Secrets. This is Jeff Lerner, your host, back with you and excited to be here as always. I am joined today by STACY TUSCHL, and she is a real powerhouse entrepreneur. You might know her from the Foot Traffic podcast, which has over 1 million downloads. It's one of the top marketing and business podcasts on iTunes. And she was podcasting before podcasting was cool. So we're going to talk to her some more about that. She's been named the Wisconsin Small Business Person of the Year. She has interviewed all kinds of luminaries, Suze Orman, Dave Hollis, Amy Porterfield. She's been a wildly successful brick and mortar entrepreneur with a dance studio that made millions of dollars. And then she went online and got into publishing, and pretty much just a rock star who we're grateful to have on Millionaire Secrets. STACY, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so glad you're here. Before we hit record, we were talking about that pivot from brick and mortar into digital. Mm-hmm. And, that kind of feels relevant in the world we're in right now, where a lot of people have been sent home from their brick and mortar confines. And whether they're working virtually or they're maybe finally doing that digital side hustle that they've entertained for a long time. Maybe that's a good place for us to start. Tell me when that was for you and kind of what happened and what sent you in that direction, because you were already really successful.
Yeah. So 2015 is when I decided to kind of come online. And what's funny is I, at the time, had a successful dance studio. In fact, I had two. And the reason I started the second dance studio was because I wanted a challenge. The first studio was so easy, and I had delegated and built an amazing team. And the worst part, it's like the best part and the worst part, is the team didn't need me anymore. So you do what you're supposed to do and you delegate, and then you're like, but guys, I want to do something too.
Right.
So I started the second studio. The second studio, because we had systems in place, took off, didn't need me very quickly. And then I said, okay, what else could I do to still contribute and have a challenge and have that growth? Because I'm addicted to growth. And I went to a 2-day event on purpose, thinking like, I'm going to go and brainstorm and just see what comes up for me. So I went to an in-person conference, and I walked out of there with the idea of, I'm going to start an online business. And that was about 5 years ago. Okay.
So you, like hundreds of millions of other people, had this idea to start an online business. But unlike the vast majority of those hundreds of millions of people, you've turned it into something really, really thriving and successful. So maybe walk us through the ground game of like how you did that, because again, frankly, most people don't.
Yeah. And I think for me, it's always been like confidence is key. Mm-hmm. And I think when we lack confidence, we then start to take action or take inaction based off of that lack of belief in ourselves. So for me, I think I just grew up I actually grew up in a family business where it was construction. So looking back at who I grew up with and how I watched my grandparents and my family, my parents work in this business, if you wanted something, you built it. Like that's just what you did. Right. And I think I just thought, even though I grew up in Wisconsin in like a small country town, nothing crazy, I think I already started to see that we can do whatever we want to do as long as we put in the work. And for me, it's been that big confidence and that commitment to doing it. So I'm not confident that I'm going to figure this out or that I'm going to like be so successful immediately, but I'm confident that I'm going to do the work and see what's going to happen and tweak and pivot as I go.
So you're kind of more naturally able to trust the process because you were born or you were raised believing in the process that like, if you build it, if you promote it, eventually people gravitate to it, money exchanges hands, and somebody, you can win as an owner. Right.
Yeah. I think the Outlast, like I'm a big Survivor fan, and like the Outlast part of Survivor is, I think, a huge component to entrepreneurship. It's just those people that try it and then give up versus the person that's like, giving up is never an option. When I hear somebody say, well, if this business doesn't take off by Christmas or in the next 6 months, I'm going to have to. Like, I've never said that phrase in my entire life because it's never been something that I've ever thought, well, what is my plan B? I've always been so focused on plan A. I've never needed a plan B.
Yeah. I mean, that's, you've interviewed a lot more people than I have on your show, but certainly my experience tells me that singular focus, that, plan A or bust mindset is so universal around successful people. They're not big hedgers of their own bets.
Right.
Really. I mean, I was talking to my business partner about that the other day, and we were actually talking about the number of students in our ecosystem at Entre who have this, kind of equivocal attitude about it, where it's like the what if. Well, like, what if it's not working? What if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't happen fast enough? And he was saying, when I got started and he got started online, he's like, there was no what if.
Right.
It was like, this is what I'm doing. It's like getting married. If you go into a marriage, you're like, well, what's my plan B here? Like, what if this doesn't work? I mean, that marriage is probably not going to rock on good footing, right?
Right.
Okay. So let's back up then. Before we even get into the digital stuff. You built 2 really successful dance studios. That's not something we should just gloss over. That's a hard business. And your dance studios were doing, 7 figures plus a year. What's the backstory there?
Yeah. So it's one of those things where it wasn't an intentional business. I graduated from high school, was going to college to get a real job and get a degree. And I thought I was a dancer and I didn't want to stop. So I thought, well, I'll just do this for fun, for free. And the first summer I graduated, still 18, had 17 dancers come to my parents' backyard for free, for fun. So I could continue teaching and just do this. And within 3 years, I had 100 kids coming to my parents' backyard. And because I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, my family was like, Stacy, I think you might be able to start charging, and this could be a thing here. And again, it's like they transfer that confidence to me, right? So maybe I didn't think I could do it, but all of a sudden I was in this room of people saying, I think you could do it. And that confidence was really the key to me starting it. So about 15 years ago is when I actually incorporated, found a space to rent. And thankfully, now we get targeted with Facebook ads. Back 15 years ago, I was getting snail mail in my mailbox, and I got this postcard to go to a business conference that was for all dance studios. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. So I go to the conference, and my mind is blown that there are people out there actually making money, not just doing this for fun, for free, but this is a real thing. And I've been addicted to personal development and just that professional growth and getting in rooms of people that can continue to transfer confidence to me. So Jeff, as I'm sitting here, I'm staring at your 10X award, right? And mine is my 2 Comma Club award is actually coming. It's on its way. And I have 2 options. I can be intimidated. I should say intimidated, or I could be disappointed that I'm not there yet. Or I can be inspired by the opportunity and the possibility that that is going to be on my wall shortly as well, right? And I think a lot of times we choose the first. We choose to feel defeated. We choose to feel intimidated, like that'll never happen to me, versus, wow, like that could happen for me too.
It's interesting. It's such a fundamental way of being in the world. It's not even so much like a conscious choice or like, a mood. It's like a deep way people are. Like, are they intimidated by, call it, I don't want to say superior achievement, but they're intimidated by something that they haven't done yet, or they're inspired by something I haven't done. It's literally the same data set. It's the same experience. It's just two totally different attitudes about it.
Yeah.
You know, I think I was at Funnel Hacking Live earlier this year. Sounds like you might've been too.
Yeah, I was.
When I got these awards, and, you know, I was talking to Anthony Morrison, who you probably know, and he went up and got, I think his was a 50 million award.
I think so.
Yeah. Had 2 25s or whatever. And then there was somebody there that had $100 million plaque. And yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, man. You know, I'm going
possible.
after this. Like,
yeah.
You know, it's like the 4-minute mile. It's like, well, I got no excuse now. Right. And it is though. I mean, I think that's just not how everybody looks.
No.
And I'll share this briefly. This is your interview, not mine. So I'm going to keep my stories minimum, but I remember my first internet marketing event it was March 2009. And there were some guys there, big kind of luminary figures in the early days of internet marketing. Mike Dillard was one of them. You probably know him, who I've gotten to be good friends with. But there was this group of people up on stage. I remember it was Mike Dillard. Names some people may or may not know. It was Mike Dillard. It was Aaron Rashkin. It was Greg Davison. It was Jay Kubasek. It was Aaron Parkinson. And then I got invited on the stage because I had gotten like some modicum of early results, and they wanted like a newbie case study. I was the tallest guy on the stage. And I'm not that, I'm like barely 6 feet tall. Like I'm not some giant, but I just remember having this really surreal moment where I was like, these people in my mind, they were giants. But I'm like, wait, technically they're not only not giants, I'm actually a little bit taller than all these guys, right? They were like 5'10", 5'11". I'm like, wait, that really mortalized them. They're not superhumans at all. And I've never forgotten that feeling. It was 12 years ago. I've never forgotten how it felt to realize they're human. They pee standing up. I don't know. Like, well, it was guys, but you know, it's like they're humans. They do this clunky stuff like we all do. And it's crazy. So what do you think is the difference? Why is some people sort of predisposed to being intimidated?
Yeah. So first it starts with your thought, right? I have the thought of like, ooh, that's exciting, versus somebody being like, I'll never get there, right? It's like our thoughts are choices. They're optional, and we're choosing what thought we want to go with. And that's why I think a lot of times the positive person tends to have the more positive thoughts, and that thought turns into that feeling of confident or defeated or disappointed. And when you feel confident or you feel disappointed, trust me, you take very different actions, and those actions turn into very different results. And that's, I think, one of the biggest things we don't realize is when I hear somebody say like, I'm stuck in a rut, I don't know what to do. I'm like, oh, don't say that. That is the worst thing to think. Do not say that. If anything, say, I'm committed to figuring this out, right? That little shift in how you're thinking will take you so much further, and you will see it in the results.
What is that saying? I know the saying, I should say who said it. It's your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your character becomes your destiny. So be really careful what you think.
Absolutely.
You happen to remember who said that? I'm like blanking out. But
no, and it's really something that people have now taught in so many different ways, because it really is true. I mean, when you look at something you're not happy with and you kind of reverse engineer like where it started and what you started to think and how you got there. Even somebody today I was talking to, and she was like, I don't know why I've not been so successful in this area. And I said, well, let's look back. Like, have you, looking at whatever you used to do, can you honestly tell me that you gave it your all? You did everything you could have, and you followed this and you did that, or is there anything you could see room for improvement? And she's like, oh, there's a lot of places I could have improved on. Like, okay, well then let's not complain about you didn't get results, and let's improve on the areas that you just said you weren't doing that well with, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Amen. I'm sure you're familiar with David Goggins' 40% rule that like,
no.
Are you familiar with David Goggins?
I'm not. I don't know why that's not ringing a bell.
Okay. So mind-blowing guy, check him out. He's the world record holder for number of pull-ups in 24 hours.
Okay.
It's like 4,200 pull-ups in 24 hours, like one pull-up every 4 seconds for an entire 24-hour period. He's like a 6'2", 210-pound guy. Like, he's not a little wiry gymnast guy. He runs ultra marathons. He completed the Special Forces training in the Navy, Army, and Air Force. The only guy that ever did that. Like, the guy is just completely insane. He has a really great book. But one of the things he talks about is a Navy SEAL principle that's called the 40% rule. And it basically says when a human being hits the sensation of like, I can't go on. This is hard. I can't keep going. Biologically, physiologically, you've actually only hit 40% of your threshold. Like, it's a protection mechanism in our body that once we hit around that 40% mark, our body says you can't go any further because it's trying to keep you from killing yourself. But when you realize that when you feel like you can't do any more, you're probably not even quite halfway to your capacity. It really changes your perspective.
Absolutely.
You know?
Well, and it's when they say things like running a marathon is more mindset than it is athletic ability. Mm-hmm. And I believe that. I've never run a marathon, but I can guarantee you I could run a marathon because I have the mindset of the marathon runner versus could I actually run that long, or what would it take? Or I don't even have to worry about that, right? Because it's the mindset. That's
interesting. You say, I don't have to run a marathon to know I could run a marathon. Because I feel the exact same way. I know I could, I always think like, and I try to map this attitude to business because I have people say things like, well, like we have courses in our company and you sell digital courses, right?
Yeah, I do.
So do you ever get people saying they can't afford your digital course?
Oh, number one objection.
So if your kidneys failed and your insurance is like, look, man, we got a $2,000 copay or deductible. Sorry, you want new kidneys? You got to come up with $2,000. Would you say, well, I can't afford new kidneys. I guess I'm going to die? Of course not. You'd sell your stuff. You do whatever you have to do. So, and even though people go, well, yeah, but buying your course isn't as important as getting new kidneys. I agree. But you have to admit it's a function of desire. You just happen to desire new kidneys and the life they will bring you more than you desire my course. But don't say you can't afford it. You just don't want it as bad.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't remember who always says this, but it's like, you can make excuses or you can make money, but you can't do both. Right. Yeah. And it's so true. I mean, let's just say you're not interested, or let's use a better reasoning, because when you have that excuse of I can't afford it, or I don't have the time for it, that's not really the case, right? It's just you're choosing to do something else as a priority. Right?
Yeah, I'd rather spend my money on something else.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, we agree. As course creators, I could have guessed that we would agree on this point.
Mm-hmm. And can I say one more thing?
Yeah, please.
The I can't afford it thing. That's never a phrase I've ever said or would ever even think, because my thought is, what can I sell or what can I build right now to go make the money? Because even if I truly didn't have the money and my credit card was maxed out and I couldn't ask anybody else for more money, I couldn't be any more resourceful than I've been, I could still go make the money. I could still, there's so many possibilities out there.
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that, because now I'm thinking about my own life and think, well, I'm 41. I can afford a lot of stuff now that I couldn't afford 10 years ago or 20 years ago. So when I was 21, if somebody had said, Jeff, would you like to buy this this Tesla, right? Mm-hmm. And I had said, I can't afford it. Well, admittedly, Teslas didn't exist 20 years ago, and I said, I can't afford it. I would have been lying, or at least not being truthful, because what I could have said is, well, I don't have the money now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my head down for the next 20 years. I'm going to go through all these twists and turns and ups and downs. I'm going to build businesses. I'm going to lose businesses. I'm going to rebuild businesses. But when I'm 41, I'm going to be back and I'm going to buy that Tesla, or 38, or, whenever my wife has one, I bought it for her. But you know what I mean? Like when we make a statement based on our temporary situation, as if it's a permanent fact across the entirety of our lives. And when we do that, we rob ourselves subconsciously of the possibility of what we could go out and do to change it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes back to that thought, right? It's like, what are you choosing to decide? What are you choosing to let that excuse kind of start running in your head? So as you're asking yourself, you're like, you might be thinking, oh, I want a Tesla, but I can't afford it. Or I want a Tesla, but well, what is the real reason you aren't scrapping your cable or you aren't scrapping because you prefer that over this, right? You've got to be really honest with yourself. And as that honesty starts to happen, you'll start, like, that self-awareness is so key when you realize what is important and what isn't.
So what is your course that you sell? I'm curious.
Yeah. So I sell something called Foot Traffic Formula.
Okay.
And it's like a
your
group coaching
podcast
program.
I love listening to your podcast, a Foot Traffic podcast. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, tell me a little more. What does it kind of teach someone to do?
Yeah. So it's a coaching program. So it's not just a DIY course. There's actually myself and other team members on there that are coaching people.
Okay.
And we're basically helping them set up, especially if they're coming from brick and mortar, an automated sales funnel is like mind-blowing to them. This is not something they're traditional business owners. They're like, what is a funnel? Where would I see one? Mm-hmm. Right? So we're teaching them how to really get customers in the door. I'm a big believer in having a 12-month marketing calendar and selling every day and just really getting those automated sales in place. Cash flow is the number one reason businesses fail. And for me, I want to make sure that every business coming to me, the first thing we solve is getting that cash flow under control, right? Before we set up other systems in the business.
Yes, I was literally on my last interview I did earlier today. We were saying kind of the same thing. It was like, it's the hardest thing to tell people, but it's actually the easiest way to approach business problems is you need to make more money.
Yeah, completely. Can I tell you this? I had a girl today in my program who was like, okay, I grossed 100,000 this year and I only paid myself 27,000. And I'm just like, this isn't working. So first of all, I said to her, a 27% profit margin on a $100,000 business. I actually said to her, like, again, her thought was, I'm not doing well. And I'm thinking, whoa, I don't know a lot of $100,000 business owners that are paying themselves 27,000.
Or
typically, anything. That's what I said to her. And then all the people on the call were like, I didn't pay myself for years. Like, this is crazy that this is what you're doing. And it was just this big, oh, wow. And that's another reason to get around the right people, because she would have thought, this is horrible. I should quit. I don't know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And the other people were like, no, that's better than normal. You're doing amazing. So I said to her, you've actually solved the problem of what most business owners suffer with, paying themselves and like starting to pay themselves first. All you have to do is, like you said, make more money at the top, because she's doing a percentage. She's allocating a percentage to her paycheck. Right. Like, you make more money at the top and you double your salary next year, right? That's as simple as it is. Just make more money. Let's scale what's working.
Is she doing like profit first accounting where she?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it sounds like. Which, by the way, if people hearing this have never read Profit First, you clearly have.
It is the book I recommend to everybody.
Game changer.
I was in business for like 15, 16 years before I read it. I literally said to my husband, I clearly do not know what I'm doing. Like, that book was such a game changer. It changed everything for us. And we have been the most profitable we've ever been. Thankfully, because I have a brick and mortar in a pandemic, that is one of the reasons I feel confident we will make it, because of the way we set up through Profit First.
Yeah. It's so simple too.
I know.
You know what I look at it is like, if you have a family and you cook a meal, from the get-go, you're calculating the portions that you're going to give everyone in the family. And you cook the food accordingly, right? Mm-hmm. Why don't we run a business why did this guy have to, Michael, what's I forget his last name.
Michalowicz. Yep.
Yeah. It's Polish or something, but it's got a lot of consonants. But why did he have to write that book for us to just go, oh, wait, I should run my business the same way I cook dinner?
I know. It was a big aha for me. I read it and then I didn't do anything with it for about a year. Mm-hmm. And then I hired a CPA that knew Profit First, and he moves the money around. And that has been so game changer for me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And the key, for me, and people haven't read the book, they maybe won't know what I'm talking about. The breakthrough step is just go to the bank and open the accounts. Yeah.
Which is what I didn't do.
And then they call to you. They're like, feed me. Mm-hmm. You owe me 20% or whatever. Right?
Yeah. The psychology behind it of like separating that money into, this is the profit, this is owner's comp, this is the expense account. I can't tell you that psychology that is really making me feel like I can't touch that. That's the owner's comp. Like I can't use that to spend money. and then I get an actual paycheck. And it's so exciting, right? It's the thing that most entrepreneurs, we don't do, especially in the beginning, because we feel guilty that we're starving our business.
Right.
So we just keep going, I'll figure it out, and I'll just keep putting the money back.
What about getting paid after tax money, where you don't have to keep track of the taxes in your mind anymore? How great is that?
Yeah. Can I tell you, the first year, so there's a time when you're always getting a tax refund. And then 1 year, magically, it's like good and bad. You've made so much money that the IRS sends you a massive bill that you're not expecting because you've never had to pay that bill before.
Right.
I will never forget that first time where I was always getting money. And then 1 year it was a $20,000 bill. And I went, what? I don't have $20,000, to pay this. Like, this was crazy. Whereas now I'm never worried about taxes because of that system.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So, okay, I want to talk more about your podcast. And this is going to be the very selfish portion of the show, because I have a podcast, thus what we're doing right now. I'm only maybe 4 months into it. So I have a lot to learn from folks such as yourself. So you start this in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, good on you for the foresight, because in 2015, podcasting wasn't the thing.
Yeah.
What actually made you want to start a podcast when no one else was talking about it?
Yeah. So great question. I actually, again, surrounding myself with the right people, somebody that I was in like a mastermind with said to me, there is this new thing that's kind of getting more popular. I think you would be phenomenal at it. You should consider it. And he kind of started to get me involved in like looking around and seeing what it was. I already was listening to podcasts a little bit. It just wasn't a thought of like, should I have my own? Mm-hmm. So again, like he transferred the confidence to me of, you should do this. So I'm one of those people where when somebody more successful than me tells me to do something, I do it.
Yeah. Huh.
So that works well for me. And I'm like, all right, I think I will try this and I'll get going. So I started January 2016, like right out of the gate, started working on it probably around end of 2015. But I would think one of the biggest things is the consistency when you go to set that up. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing people will say. People will email us like, hey, I thought your podcast comes out on Wednesday. It's Wednesday. It's not there. I mean, people want consistency. They want the frequency to be there. And that's how you build that trust factor of, I can rely on you. Like Jeff's going to give me that podcast every Thursday or whatever day it releases, right? Like you need to have that and set that tone.
So yeah, I mean, first of all, I totally agree. And it is, it's hard. You start something on day one and you're like, it's like getting a gym membership. So my son, he's 17 years old. He just signed up for a gym membership, and he in order to save like $5 a month or something, he signed up for a 3-year gym membership. I'm like, Brax, like you should just do the month to month and pay an extra $10 or whatever. Cause like you're making a big commit to say, at 17 years old, I'm committing to work out weekly for 3 years. But that's kind of how the podcast is. It's like the long-term gym member. Don't do it. It
is.
It
really is, because it's not a short term, like people will preach, you can make money fast. I do agree that if you're strategic, a podcast can make money. However, I think it took me quite a while to really get my groove and understand it. By the time I finally figured it out, or I finally kind of got that conversion up, a lot of people probably would have given up by then. And you've got to really go into it understanding like this is going to take, and you want to commit to it. I mean, not just like 3 years, you're committing like, I'm in, like, we're going to keep doing this podcast.
It's like my job.
The business, 100%. Like it's a big decision.
And has it been rewarding for you?
Yes.
So it's been worth it.
100%. I am a big believer in asking your customers. I ask them 2 things, like, where did you first find us? And then what made you sign up today? Because they're usually 2 different answers. Sometimes they're like, I started listening to the podcast, but then I saw something on Instagram, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, when we ask those questions, the podcast is always either number 1 or number 2 answer. Always.
It's always either how they found you or why they signed up.
Yep. Always.
Yeah. It's such a trust and authority positioning device. So I have a question. It's out of left field, perhaps. I'm just pulling this out of the air, and it's my show. We can go wherever we go, right? So one of the things I find myself sort of, I don't know, existentially struggling with is like in the last 2 years, so for what you did 5 years ago, I kind of did 2 years ago, which is like, I'm going to put myself out there. For the 10 years prior to that, I was a really successful digital marketer, but like nobody knew who I was. I wasn't a front and center face, name, or brand. And then 2 years ago, I was like, I think the world has changed. At this point, obscurity is just future death. Obscurity is decay in this world. So I have to start putting myself out there. And I've done it. I've gone hard into it. I've put out probably over 1,000 videos of content at this point. And I started a podcast now, and I'm writing a book, and I do all like, I used to hate Instagram. I thought Instagram was the most worthless, hedonistic, indulgent, time-wasting platform ever. Now I'm like on it every day. Mm-hmm. So I've shifted in my life. And one of the things I tell people a lot is how, in hindsight now, you don't know what you don't know, but in hindsight, it has been so developmentally powerful for me to start having to start pushing myself to have to think of myself as a public face, as a brand, as a message that has to be clear and has to resonate with people. And like, it sharpens you to start thinking of yourself in business terms as like as a product, right? So I'm curious if you've had the same experience over the last 5 years, and also what you say to people who are like, I don't want to put myself out there.
Yeah, great question. So, okay, we can go a couple ways for this. One thing I do want to say as just like convincing your people do a podcast is the skill set of interviewing, I think, is massive. Like, I can't tell you, I was very afraid of live TV. I don't know why. I do a lot of live video, but live TV, like the local thing, scared me a lot. And I was like, again, I like a challenge. So I was like, this year, I'm going to do a lot of live TV because I'm just going to try to master something new. So I go on live TV and I was like, oh, it's kind of like a podcast. It's just me and you chatting, right? And I was like, well, that was easy. And I realized very quickly, so I've done a lot of live TV this last year. I was on a couple features, like something with PBS, they contacted us. And then we did something with US Bank and all of these things. And what I realized was I was getting all of these opportunities. In fact, the Small Business Person of the Year, US Bank nominated me after I did this video presentation with them. And then I ended up winning. So my point is, getting out there, getting on camera, getting this interview skill set, mastering these new things has opened up a ton of doors for me. I can't believe the things that people are coming to me with. US Bank reached out and they were like, you're a successful business owner. We'd love to interview you. Typically we ask people and they're afraid to come on camera, but we see like you do a lot of stuff on camera. Like, would you do it? And that was how I got it. It was just because they saw that I had this skill set. And when video is not going anywhere, right? We know this, like video is only getting more popular. And podcasting is skyrocketing, right? It's talked about all over the place now. I mean, my kids are, besides me doing a podcast, my kids are 5 and 7 and they know what podcasts are. Mm-hmm. So it's just becoming the new norm. I just feel like it's kind of like you said, if you don't do it, your business, I think you'll start to stall. You'll start to peak or plateau, and you'll start to feel the effects of not staying updated with 2020.
Yeah, the way I think about it is kind of what I said. Obscurity is decay. Mm-hmm. Listen, somebody doesn't have to podcast. Somebody doesn't have to make YouTube videos. So they don't have to. You don't have to do it. I mean, it's a free country, right? Right. But if you want to stay in business in the world we live in now, you must have visibility. Yeah. Like way more than you historically needed to. Mm-hmm. And for people who I was a natural introvert. Like I'm the last guy that wanted this to be the truth, but at the end of the day, I don't get to decide what's true. It just is. If you're not very visible in this world, you're going to lose, because the one guy or girl, one human in your industry who's really visible is going to get all the business. Yeah. And you're going to be fighting over scraps with the 100 other people that were shy or insecure or just waited. They'll do it tomorrow.
Well, and I think the level of connection we have, like right now, you and I are on video, we can see each other. It's different than if it was just you and me talking, right? It's different if it's just you and me texting back and forth, right? Like there's different levels of connection. So I think the more you're visible, the more, and I still think a podcast is so valuable, whether or not you see them, right? Having that like voice in your earbud, driving to, in the car or taking a walk, like to be that close with somebody is massive. And I agree with you. I think that the more you can be with your audience and share those moments, and they know how you sound and what you would say or what you would do, and they could hear your voice when you're not actually there, right? Those are things that just make people closer. One of the things too that really helped me with COVID was obviously in a brick and mortar, we were forced to close, right? So in Wisconsin here, we closed, I think mid-March. We opened up back in June. It was a tough time and people were obviously leaving the studio. But the first month we kept 90% retention. And I think the second month it was like 85, it was still really high. They were getting virtual classes, but they weren't coming in the building. And I think one of the reasons that people were staying was every week I would do an update on what we were doing and how we were going to do this. And I was keeping that positive mindset, but I got on camera every single week. And I just explained, like, I wanted people to see, like, I am a real business owner. I'm a real person. I am not like this massive corporation, right? I have a family too. In one of my videos, I actually teared up a tiny bit as I was thanking people for the support and their loyalty and this and that. And people just raved about those videos. Yeah. But again, it was like, I was not good at video 5 years ago. It has been a skill set that I've been working on. And all of these skill sets you will need in your back pocket. Like there will be a time when you need to pull one of these out.
Yeah, that's so true. I remember I got booked on some TV stuff. It was late last year. I guess it was fall last year. It was pre-COVID, so it must have been last year. Yeah. And yeah, it was, I had been I'd probably made 200 YouTube videos at that point. And I was able to just walk out and do it. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't like fluttery. My voice didn't quiver. And it's like it's like the Navy SEALs say, start getting ready now. Because by the time you need to be ready, it'll be too late to get ready. And I totally agree with what you're saying. Video marketing, podcasting, anything that feels scary because you're vulnerable, it's getting ready. Yeah. And you're going to need it at some point.
Oh, can I share a story with you about,
Please.
Have you ever seen the Netflix docuseries called Stay Here? It's a real estate, like a short-term rental property. Okay, well, it's good. You should definitely watch it. But what I want to share with this is this guy, Peter, who's one of the main stars. It's like him and then an HGTV celebrity. Peter was a YouTube guy. He had, even at the time I looked him up after the show went live and it was like trending on Netflix, he still had very few subscribes, his videos very small, like nothing crazy. But Netflix was looking for somebody to partner with this Genevieve Gorder, who was an HGTV star. They wanted somebody who was really in the short-term marketing space. So they went onto YouTube and they started searching for people. And even though Peter didn't have a huge following, they liked him. And they liked his vibe and he thought that he was smart. So Peter shares a story on his podcast where Netflix calls him and he thinks it's a joke. Like he doesn't even believe that. And he's like thinking it's his friend. But my point is, he probably wasn't totally comfortable getting on video, but he did it anyway.
Right.
And all of a sudden Netflix is knocking on his door and Stay Here got picked up for a second season. So it was very successful and it's now helped his career too. You just never know what opportunity you're turning down by saying no to just a podcast or no to just your YouTube channel or no to, fill in the blank.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me at all. And everybody who does it, you may not get picked up by Netflix for a show, but it's going to show up somehow. And what I think is so important to realize is, and this is what I did a whole lot of psyching myself up to do all this because it's been this blitz for 2 years. And before that, I was super shy. I didn't want to do it. And what I realized is me saying, well, I'm shy and I don't want to do it, or it's not convenient, or I'm busy or whatever. That's just being like everybody else. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, who has the life I don't really want? Everybody else. Like the average life ain't that great. Who has the life that I do want? It's the people that do the things that most people won't do. Mm-hmm. So every day I do this, I'm becoming a person who's a little bit more like where I want to go and a little bit less like where I don't want to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a win. That's just a win. So tell me about, for you, what is it, how has it changed you to become this, at this point, and I'll be honest, when the person who books our show, they said, we got STACY TUSCHL for your show. And I was like, STACY TUSCHL, where have I heard that? And they said, she does the Foot Traffic podcast. And I was like, oh, the Foot Traffic podcast lady. Yeah, totally. I know that show. Like, you're at least to this guy, you're like a celebrity. Like you've become this person that you clearly were not 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
What has it done for you personally? Not fame, not money, not business. Personally, internally, what has it done for you to become that through that process?
Yeah, I think it's given me even more confidence, right? So I keep bringing that up. Like, that word has been such a theme today. And, the more I do something and the more that people are like, oh, I listened to that, or, oh, I'm like, wow, like I can't even, but like I interviewed somebody, or my team interviewed somebody. I was watching the replay of it and she's like, I've been a listener of Stacey's podcast for a while. And I'm like, this is so crazy that even somebody on Indeed is like searching for us and sees it. Mm-hmm. So I think the more I've just done and put myself out there, and not everything's been perfect and successful, from day one, but the more I do, the more I'm willing to try even more. And that confidence just keeps coming back for me. So I think it's been an immense amount of growth. It's a really fun challenge that there's always something new to learn. Like, it's one of the cons in social media and online is like, it changes nonstop. Mm-hmm. But for somebody who likes growth, right, and likes that challenge and change, it's fun for me. And I think, again, it's the way you're thinking about it. Is it like a bad thing that Facebook changed the algorithm, or is it another fun way to outdo your competitors? Like, is it another way to get smarter than, the average person that's not going to try, that is going to give up? So I would say that confidence just keeps building the more that I actually take action.
Yeah, that's exactly right. What is it? Tony Robbins says that emotion, literally the root of the word emotion means from motion. Mm-hmm. Like your feeling, your passion, your enthusiasm for doing something comes from the motion of doing it, not the other way around, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you love podcasting when you started?
I loved it for a little while. I did it 3 days a week. Let's just say right now, don't start 3 days a week. Please don't. I did it for 3 days a week for a year, and I got really burnt out. And you know what? I shouldn't say don't do it 3 days a week. You know what hurt, why it was so burnt me out was because I wasn't tracking my numbers. So you're talking and you're like, is anybody listening? Does anybody care? And I felt like, what am I doing this for? And then all of a sudden, I'm starting to learn, and people are like, oh, you've got to do this and you got to do that. And we started to have these weekly KPIs where every single Monday, my team would present me with my top 5 episodes, how many downloads we had last week, what, the new reviews. And all of a sudden it was like a fire was like lit inside of me. Mm-hmm. And that is so important to remember. Like, there are people listening. And even if it's 100 people, it's 100 people. Like, if you were to go speak in a room right now with 100 people, that's still a big opportunity. And I think they say like 50% of podcasts on iTunes have less than like 146 downloads an episode. Okay. So if you're past that, like, you should feel so incredibly proud of the success you've had, and then know that it takes time to scale, right? So knowing your numbers, knowing your episodes. So this person would tell me every Monday, these are our top 5. And I remember one time there was this massive episode that did really well. And it was a friend that I interviewed. And we were like, we always like to throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks, right? Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, let me go find out why this took off. So I messaged my friend. I said, listen, don't feel bad when you answer this honestly. Did you share out this episode or did you not? Because I want to see if you shared it and that's why it's so popular, or if it's just the title. Because she's not a massive name, so I didn't think like her name did it. Right. So she's like, I'm the worst friend ever. Don't judge me. I totally didn't share your episode. And I'm like, that's okay, because what that means is they liked something about the title. And of course, the word Instagram was in it. And they liked Instagram. So I was like, let me prove my theory here. Let me go out and get Jasmine Starr and Tyler McCall and some Instagram experts, and let's put the word Instagram in and let's see what happens. Very soon, my top 3 episodes all had the word Instagram in it, right? So I started to track like what is popular, what is working. And all of a sudden that feedback was like the push I needed to go, or the confidence I needed to keep going. And I got this like I would say like it sparked again about a year after. Like I just needed that confidence of people are listening and they do like it. And look what's happening when we do X, Y, or Z.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Like you think about like a bunch of little kids playing like kickball or something, and like little Johnny kicks the ball and the coach is like, Johnny, no, run that way. Go to that little square on the ground. That's called first base. And like little Johnny's like, whatever. And he gets distracted and goes and like picks up a stick and looks at the stick. Johnny doesn't care about the game because Johnny doesn't know the rules. Mm-hmm. Teach Johnny the rules of kickball. He's going to be a lot more excited to play kickball. And what you're basically saying is you kind of got thrown into, or you threw yourself into this thing called podcasting, but you didn't really learn the game.
No.
So not surprisingly, you weren't that passionate about it. Mm-hmm. And that's, I always joke that I was blessed to be born a learner. Learn about stuff. It gets a lot more fun. That's the biggest thing I'm always trying to impart to my grown-up aspiring entrepreneurs is like, before you get into the, I want to do the work and I want to make the money mode, you need to get into the, I want to learn, I want to become a perpetual student mode. Yeah. If you don't do that, the other is just never going to happen. You're not going to be motivated to do the work like you were just describing, right?
Yep.
And why should anybody, why do you deserve the reward if you haven't even become a student of what you're doing?
Yeah.
The reality is you didn't deserve a successful podcast because you didn't know what the hell you were doing.
I didn't. And the more I was not enjoying it, the more my content reflected that I wasn't enjoying it. And all of a sudden people started to say to me after I got excited again, people would be like, I don't know what happened, but ever since May, like your podcast has been amazing. I'm like, well, May is when we started tracking, and May is when I started to get more excited about what I was putting out there. And all of a sudden you could feel a difference and my audience started to really grow. That's
so cool. So bring us all the way up to now then. Yeah. Like what does your business consist of now?
So right now, I have the podcast. It's my main focus. So I always tell people it's my main pillar, like piece of content. Mm-hmm. So my goal is every week delivering at least one solid piece of content that gets like repurposed everywhere, video, all the things. My one thing that I sell is foot traffic formula. Okay. So I do have like this ascension model of a mastermind on top. But I'm very crystal clear on not confusing my audience and making sure my content really flows to my product. So everything I do, everything I'm putting out there is strategy. Like I'm really asking myself, what is the intention behind today's podcast and where is it going to send our people? Like what are they going to be compelled to do after it's over? And for us, it's like get them in foot traffic formula. So as we've kind of narrowed in, I would say the first 4 years I was throwing lots of spaghetti at the wall and I wasn't looking to see what stuck. I had unrealistic expectations. My first launch with zero lists, but I went to a mentor and said, hey, do you want to partner with me and I'll sell this thing and you can make 50%? And she's like, sure. We made $11,000 on Black Friday 5 years ago. That's amazing. But the day that I did that, I thought, oh, only 11,000 people are making 6 and 7 figures with online businesses. So I must have failed. And I scrapped the product and tried something else. And I feel like it took me a good 4 years to keep doing things. And I was successful. But then all of a sudden I found our one thing. I found our bestseller. And as I started to go, you guys on the team, we are focused on foot traffic formula. We have blown up this year. It's like, everything has changed because we've just narrowed in on our focus. And man, I wish I would have done that, a few years ago, but it's all part of the lessons learned.
That's so interesting. You described that. It really informs exactly what I've experienced in the last year. We were at the early part of this year, my education business was at a certain level, right? Mm-hmm. And we were like, oh, we want to get to this, this next level, right? Whatever, add zeros, whatever that level is. Yeah. I was like, oh, we need some new funnels. Like we have other courses, but we need to create webinar funnels that sell the courses direct to the market. Now we'll have 5 offers in the market instead of 1 and da, da, da. But the reality is we kept getting too busy to do any of that.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, because we've kind of stayed focused on the things we had to tend to, the one offer that I thought I needed 4 more offers in order to scale my company, that one offer has grown like almost 2,000%. Like there was still 20 times as much business to be done just from the one offer. And here I was thinking I needed 4 more.
It's so common. It's one of the biggest mistakes that happen. You'll sell 20 people and one person says, Jeff, you know what you should do? You should. And then Jeff's like, we should, like, team, we're creating this. And you have one person that wants to buy it. And you're so sidetracked on that next project, when if you could just grow the first one, you'll go so much faster.
Yeah, especially, and this is what I have learned, just to get one thing working is really hard.
Yeah.
So when one thing is working, it's like being in a relationship and being like, I really love this person, but I wonder if maybe there's someone else I could love a little bit more. It's like, no, you love this person. Be happy. Right. Love, lean into it, Yeah. That's how it is when you have something working. There's
so much that you haven't maximized with that one thing. Anybody listening that's like, well, I've been doing this but it's like, yeah, but let's look at the thing you're selling. Have you, every part of that funnel, have you really maximized it?
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh no, I actually don't have this or that, and it's like, okay, well, let's do more of that and let's scale it before we go have that second tier.
That's so true. My business partner is a very methodical, operationally disciplined person. And I'm more like squirrel, ready, fire, aim kind of guy. And he's like, Jeff, man, listen, we can take our funnel and our what we're acquiring customers for, and we can cut it in half. We just have to make our capture page 10% better, and our sales page 10% better, and our shopping cart 10% better, and our enrollment or our consumption of the product 10% better, and our back-end closing 10% better. You put together these 5 or 10% improvements and stack up a few of them. Now everything's 100% better. Right. And we've done it. We cut our acquisition costs from in half by 50% just by making a lot of little things a little bit better. And it's to your point, like I think a lot of people have no idea how much more they can optimize what they're doing.
Well, and you just said it, it's so hard to start. So it's funny because you get something working and you're like, I want to make more money. Let's start something new. But that's the hardest part. If you already have something working and you can just scale that thing that's working and get a better conversion on the, on the opt-in, on the OTO and the bump and all those things, you will have the money that you've been looking for with that second product.
I tend to go overboard with, analogies. My wife is always like, really, Jeff, you're going to do another analogy? Like, I already know what you mean, but I can't help myself. In this case, it's like being a really good basketball player who makes $5 million a year and being like, well, I really want to make $10 million a year. You know what I should do? I should start playing baseball. No, just get better at basketball. You're already a $5 million a year basketball guy. You could score 3 more points a game and they'd re-sign you at 10 million.
Right.
Don't start a whole other sport. You go back to, Pee Wee, you go back to Little League if you do that. So anyways.
But so many people do it. It's crazy.
Yeah, it really is. Okay. So, man, shoot, we're like about out of time. This is like flying by. Where can people go? I've listened to your podcast. Your podcast is awesome. So I want to start by telling people, go listen to Foot Traffic podcast.
Thank you.
But where can people go to learn more about everything else that you're doing or that included?
Yeah. So you can just go to STACYTUSCHL.com. I know I have the hardest spelling last name. So you may want to.
No, I think the Profit First guys is harder.
Oh yeah. Good point. Good point. Mine's shorter. So that makes sense. People want to throw vowels in my name that I don't have. But you can go there. You can go to foottrafficformulaprogram.com because that will show you, that'll get you the page and you can spell that, I would say. But I'm on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere at Stacy Tuschl. Instagram is my favorite place for sure. That's where I hang out the most. So if you want to come say hi, come find me on Instagram and DM me.
Okay, cool. And obviously we'll put all the links for that wherever this show appears. And I actually want to let the audience know as well. So we have a free ebook download called the Millionaire Shortcut. And we have it hosted at millionairesecrets.com/StacyT. so that we'll know that you got the referral from this amazing episode. And go grab a copy of that. It will teach you the fastest way to become a millionaire, and it'll also have some good links for you. Stacey, this has been fantastic. I feel like so stimulated and ready to record more podcast episodes.
Yeah, well, Jeff, thank you so much for having me. So much fun. I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, this has been great. Thanks for being a guest on Millionaire Secrets. Thank you to everyone out there listening. I appreciate you so much. You are truly the reason why I do this, and I'm blessed to get to do this. So we will see you on the next episode. Take care. Thank you for watching Millionaire Secrets. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and leave us a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you know whenever we release a new episode. Also, if you want to learn the fastest way to become a millionaire in the new economy, click the link in the description below to claim your free copy of my book, The Millionaire Shortcut. And don't forget, Millionaire Secrets is available on all the major podcast platforms as well. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you can listen on the go. Thanks for watching.